The CDC Vaccine Advisory Panel voting to change recommendations for several vaccines. I'm Maura Barrett. Coming up, what this means for patients looking to get vaccinated.
Scripps News with never-before-seen video of the accused Charlie Kirk shooter during an interaction with police years before the shooting. I'm Lori Jane Gliha. Ahead with the video shows what else we've learned about the suspect's surrender.
The Constitution says we the people have freedom of speech to a certain extent.
The broadcast companies that are putting this stuff on the air, they can make business decisions however they want. They may decide that things that are being said are insensitive or they go against their corporate policies. And that's not necessarily a violation of the First Amendment.
After 2 days of unusually chaotic and confusing meetings, the Federal Vaccine Committee changed the language for recommendations around COVID and MMRV vaccines, and they indefinitely postponed a vote on the hepatitis B vaccine. All of this calling insurance coverage into question. New recommendations from the CDC's Vaccine Advisory Panel this week leaves COVID-19 vaccine decisions up to each individual, and the MMRV vaccine is now not recommended for children under 4.
The recommendation just simply does not make any sense. And from a public health standpoint, this is a really bad idea.
The combined shot for measles, mumps, rubella, and varicella has been in use for 10 years, and previous guidance began the vaccination process for toddlers at 12 months old. The panel intended to vote on changes for hepatitis B as well, but in a surprise move backed off at the last minute. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. handpicked the committee, adding 5 new members as recently as this week just before the meeting. Some of them historically have been critical of vaccines. The lack of experience clear on Friday as the panel reversed its own decision regarding insurance coverage for the MMRV vaccine. Chair Martin Koldorf self-describing some of the group as, quote, rookies, noting with one exception, this was either our first ACIP meeting or our second. It's led medical experts like Dr. David Higgins and Dr. Jill Roberts to call out a lack of data to back up the decisions.
The committee that's formed right now is not a committee that I am looking to for vaccine recommendations as a pediatrician.
It's not based in science, not based in risk. It's not based in the best things for the U.S. population. That speaks volumes.
Dr. Roberts noted this will likely lead to lower vaccination rates and will impact herd immunity. Given how politics have influenced the agency, medical experts in the room who voiced opposition to the recommendation overhaul did so knowing there could be retribution or a risk to their jobs. These recommendations must be reviewed and approved by the CDC before it becomes official guidance. Maura Barrett, Scripps News Group, Washington.
The clock on TikTok is not up yet. This morning, President Trump speaking with Chinese President Xi. Both leaders are trying to work out a deal to keep TikTok operating in this country. Both sides say that progress has been made. Right now, TikTok is owned by the Chinese company ByteDance. A law passing last year requires ByteDance to give up its ownership of the app or stop operating in the United States. Lawmakers are concerned about data privacy and national security. And Jacob, the president providing a bit more details about that TikTok deal. 1/3 of all Americans, we found out today, actually use it. So lots of people wondering what's going to happen. What do we know?
Yeah, Del, well, President Trump confirming that it is his understanding that a deal has been formally agreed to by both the United States and China. Again, this coming out of the significant conversation he had almost 3 hours with Chinese President Xi Jinping earlier this morning. The president still once again declining to go into specifics about how exactly this deal might operate, though confirming that it will involve some portion or combination of U.S. companies purchasing a stake in TikTok, and perhaps even a government official sitting on the board overseeing the app. The president declining to answer whether that would be the case, specifically telling reporters, as he often does, to stay tuned for more announcements. Of course, we understand that the deal is not entirely finalized yet. It still does require a number of additional sign-offs from various jurisdictions, both here in the United States and in China. The president, though, seemingly describing it as a done deal, saying that those additional sign-offs are just a formality. Listen.
We have to get it signed, I guess. I think the formality. I found his word to be very good. Yeah, we're gonna have a very tight control. And look, it's an amazing thing that's been created. There's tremendous value with it. And I'm a little prejudiced because I frankly did so well on it. It got me numbers that nobody's ever even heard of before.
The president there acknowledging his own bias, suggesting that he's a little prejudiced about TikTok because he views it as instrumental in his success in the 2024 election, especially among young people. Of course, as you might imagine, Democrats not particularly pleased with how this has all been playing out, criticizing the president for delaying this deal for so long, and others suggesting that this is weakening the U.S.'s strategic negotiating relationship with China. Again, we still do not have a ton of details as to how exactly this deal will shake out, though we expect to learn more in the coming days as the U.S. government and Chinese officials formalize things.
The House passed a short-term spending bill trying to avoid a government shutdown. Then came the Senate. At issue, the risk of health insurance premiums skyrocketing, and as they say, that's where the battle lines have been drawn. Our congressional correspondent Nathaniel Reed reports on how this issue is playing out in the funding fight.
As lawmakers continue to work behind the scenes on a comprehensive government funding solution, another high-stakes showdown is brewing, which could have massive impacts on your wallet. Expanded Affordable Care Act subsidies are slated to expire at the end of this year, and Democrats are sounding the alarm, looking for any way for Congress and the Trump administration to leave the expanded subsidies in place. Americans who obtain insurance through their state's insurance marketplace or exchange will see the most drastic changes first. According to the Kaiser Family Foundation, if the expanded subsidies, which originally took effect in 2021, expire this year, Americans could see their premiums spike anywhere from 75% or more on average, depending on where they live. While Republicans and the Trump administration haven't ruled out acting to extend the subsidies, they have ruled out extending them as part of the annual government funding negotiations. Democrats on Capitol Hill pushing to include a permanent extension as part of any government funding solution.
So let's make a deal. Let's talk about a way to help keep people's costs down for their health care, because the more expensive it becomes, more people will get off of their health care, and the more people get off of health care, the more everybody else's premiums go up. Some Republicans are saying, well, we don't want to give premium tax credits to people that are making $600,000 a year. Okay, that sounds reasonable to me. Let's negotiate.
According to an independent analysis by the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, if the expanded subsidies expire, 4.2 million people would lose their health care coverage over the next decade. But if they're extended, 3.8 million more people will gain insurance coverage. If the government does shut down this year, it could mean furloughs for millions of government employees or the requirement that some work without pay indefinitely. At this point, lawmakers are still trying to iron out a comprehensive solution for 2026 funding, whether that includes funding for the Affordable Care Act,
breaking down the Federal Reserve's interest rate cuts, the concrete money moves you can make right now to bolster your finances in the long term.
watching Scripps News, part of the Scripps News Group.
President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance expected to eulogize Charlie Kirk. Kirk's funeral will be held Sunday at State Farm Arena. That is where the Arizona Cardinals play. Adam Minzer of our Scripps News Group is in Phoenix outside Turning Point headquarters.
This event is being given the Secret Service's highest grade of security. We're talking about Super Bowl levels of security happening around State Farm this upcoming weekend. Glendale saying that, though, it won't be contained just to State Farm, with tens of thousands of people coming to the Valley.
When those things happen, things do get shut down. Just know that it's going to be busy, probably valley-wide this weekend. Make sure that you may have some alternative routes, or if you don't necessarily need to go over near the stadium, don't go over there. Just because it's going to be busy. You're going to be gridlocked for a little bit here and there.
Federal agencies are reporting that there's no verified or credible threat to the event, but unverified threats are starting to pick up. While State Farm can fit at least 63,000 people, Glendale PD says they wouldn't be surprised if more than 100,000 people came out, considering the overflow areas that are happening around the stadium. The event being hosted here means so much to Charlie Kirk's supporters.
I think it's important to host because people want to mourn. They want to mourn for Erica and her children. They want to mourn for Charlie. They want to mourn for our country. They want to mourn for this attack on our First Amendment right.
And the memorial outside of Turning Point continued to grow as people are leaving personal mementos, everything from Charlie Kirk's old Starbucks order, things from his favorite baseball team, the Chicago Cubs. So people that are trying to make it to State Farm on Sunday, they're being asked to register in advance, although the event is first come, first serve. They're being told to wear their Sunday best in red, white, and blue colors. Reporting in Phoenix, Adam Minzer, Scripps News Group.
For Idaho News 6, I'm senior reporter Don Nelson. The U.S. Constitution says we, the people, have the freedom of speech to a certain extent, something Jimmy Kimmel found out about this week.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
And with that, and a few more words criticizing how President Trump grieved Charlie Kirk's death, Jimmy Kimmel was suspended indefinitely by ABC.
It would be one thing for a comic like Jimmy Kimmel to stand on the steps of our state capitol and say exactly what he just said. No problem at all, right? He's doing so in the context of his employment, and his employers can make employment decisions based on the things that he says.
If you're asking my opinion of it, yeah, I feel like I've heard worse.
KBUI radio talk show host Nate Shellman, who's not afraid to tackle controversial topics, was on the air when he heard the news about Kimmel's suspension.
We have a duty, we have a responsibility to talk about what's going on out there, to have a take. I don't know if he picked the wrong time to tell a joke on the back of an assassination.
Where are we in this country? What's the vibe you get here in the Treasure Valley on your show?
I think there's a lot of hurt. I think there's a lot of anger.
Jan Adams and Brian Lee are co-owners of the Comedy Lounge in Boise. They have booked hundreds of comics who expressed their views on stage.
How many thousands of times have people laughed at things that Kimmel has said, and now this one time he said something that they didn't like? If we did that, if we had a comic here and out of an hour there was one joke that we didn't like, so we didn't book him back, well, now we're in dangerous territory. We're not going to have anybody to book because of one joke out of, I don't know, 200 that the comic told.
Don Nelson, Scripps News Group.
After the shooting death of Charlie Kirk, Utah's governor called social media a cancer. Add that to concerns about TikTok, and the bad publicity for social media just keeps piling up. But one author wants to change your view. The book is called Flip Your Script, Owning Your Story and the Positive Power of Social Media. It gives readers a guide on how to leave a positive social impact. So joining us now is Emmy Award-winning journalist, entrepreneur, and author Christy Peel. Christy, thank you for joining us and sharing a bit about your book with us this afternoon and your expertise. So how do you break through the negative noise on social media to try to make a positive difference?
Thank you for having me. In the light of what's happening in the world, these are the kind of conversations we should be having to think about how social media can be used for good instead of the way that many of us log in and see how it is being used right now. And it's full of negativity and misinformation and hate. So the first thing to do is to reframe how you show up to social media platforms and think about really reflecting before you react. And think about the social media platforms that you're on. You have an opportunity and a responsibility to bring positivity and purpose instead of thinking about logging on to change someone else's mind.
So you have this quote in your book: in any line of work, in any walk of life, at any age, your story matters. So talk to us about how you live this through your social media.
Each of us have our own personal experiences. We have our own insight. We have our own stories. And when we show up on social media and share those things with the purpose and the intent of helping someone else, it changes the whole conversation. So when someone, even with a different political ideology or a different religion, shares their story, how they got to believe what they believe, it's very different than getting onto social media and spewing hate. So when I think about professionals and the leaders that I work with all the time, and we work with at my company, Media Minefield, we're teaching them how to show up on social media and share insight for the purpose of helping and inspiring and educating other people. It makes a huge difference.
Well, the news of the day is what drives what people talk about online, but sharing opinions on social media, we've seen especially controversial ones, can land people in hot water, have gotten people fired from jobs. So is there a way for people to share their emotions and share their thoughts without putting a target on their back or putting their job at risk?
I think it's all about the audience. When a leader is showing up on social media, their audience are their stakeholders. And if they post something that's controversial, which right now the way the country is, half of the people are going to agree and half of the people are going to disagree, therefore making almost any political opinion controversial, is it worth it? They are representing their company, they're representing their brand, and it's a very big risk. If they have opinions that they want to share with people, I encourage them, start a text with a friend, go out to coffee with someone, call someone who you trust, talk to your therapist. But just spewing information on social media can have pretty significant and damaging, as you mentioned, we've recently seen consequences for people's careers.
Well, we hear all the time about what we see on Instagram and on TikTok. It's not real life. You're seeing only the best photos that someone has to share, only the photos that have gone through a filter. So how do you stay authentic but also stay away from being negative?
It's a really great question. And the number one thing that we teach people and that I talk about in the book is to be two things: authentic and accurate. And where those two things come together, that is where excellent content and where storytelling can happen. So it's just critical to show up you want to be filtered, right? I teach people in the book, we all know how to do this. We know how to edit our stories. If you show up for dinner and your kids ask, hey, how was your week? You're going to have a different answer than if an employee asks, or a coworker, or your rabbi, or your priest, or your pastor. So it's really important to show up on social media and to think about who the audience is and how to be authentic there and not be damaging.
Well, there is, no matter how hard people try, at least right now, the environment on social media, there's a lot of negativity out there. There's a lot of controversial opinions out there. Is there something that you recommend people do to kind of try to shield themselves from negativity? Should they be unfollowing people, or is there a better way to try to keep their own individual social media feeds more positive?
The word that you use that's so important is individual. Each of us has the opportunity and the responsibility to curate our social media community as it's beneficial to us. So I know people in my network who have decided to log off for a bit because they just aren't at a place to take it. There are other people who the right answer might be to remove some followers that are causing negative thoughts or taking them down a path that is negative. When we work with leaders, a lot of our work is on LinkedIn, and controversial opinions
in my opinion, don't belong on LinkedIn. So if you're finding a lot of negativity on TikTok, perhaps it's time to take a break from that platform for a while and look at a different platform through a different lens, where perhaps you're not feeling negative or tempted to make some kind of comment that can have significant implications for your personal life and your professional life.
Social media is something I think a vast majority of us use, but I think a lot of us would agree that it would be nice if it was a little more uplifting and a little more positive sometimes. Author of Flip Your Script, Christy Peel, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you.
Scripps News with never-before-seen video of the accused Charlie Kirk shooter during an interaction with police years before the shooting. I'm Lori Jane Gliha. Ahead with the video shows what else we've learned about the suspect's surrender.
Rate range 4 to 4.25% is a quarter point down from where it's been since last year. While that may eventually lower borrowing costs, some experts say the impact on your everyday budget may not be immediate. But there are some money moves you can make right now for long-term gains. As Americans face high inflation,
it's affecting me. Definitely certain things have gone up in price.
And stagnant wages.
If you're working for lower wages, all the prices seem to be going up, but not the wages as well.
A Federal Reserve interest rate cut isn't necessarily an overnight fix to financial struggles.
I think this is going to make borrowing a little bit cheaper, and it's going to drop savings rates probably a little bit over time. But in your day-to-day life, groceries, gas, healthcare, this isn't really going to drop costs all that much.
But Kate Ashford with NerdWallet says there are 4 money moves to make right now to take advantage of this rate drop.
This is as good a time as any to just take a look at your finances.
She says attack high-interest credit card debt. Look for 0% balance transfer cards to consolidate and save. Build your emergency fund. Aim for 3 to 6 months, ideally in a high-yield savings account. Lock in good rates while they last in certified deposit and online savings accounts, and explore refinancing options, especially for mortgage rates or auto loans to lower monthly payments.
This is kind of a long game for people, but it is those little steps you take over time that add up in the end.
For homeowners, this rate cut could mean new possibilities if you act fast.
This is going to make it easier for you to afford a home, and if you already have one and you're up at 7% or so in your mortgage rate, you might want to consider refinancing.
Experts say this isn't a magic wand.
There's too many variables at play.
But it is a window.
It's definitely changing the level kind of risk I'm willing to take on in the near future. It's definitely making me make appropriate adjustments to long-term plans.
One where smart, simple moves could help your money go a lot further.
We're going to have volatility, but in the long run, I think we're in a very good time, and that investors and consumers should keep an open mind to things going a little bit better than they might think they will.
For Scripps News Group, I'm Jane Caffrey.
After the break, a look at today's top stories.
Congressman Mike Waltz will be the next U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, confirmed by the Senate along party lines. Less clear whether Waltz will be participating in the UN General Assembly in New York next week. President Trump appointing Waltz to the post after he removed him as his national security advisor back in May. You may recall Waltz mistakenly added a journalist to that private chat on the Signal app that included several top officials, including Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. The Trump administration is asking the Supreme Court now to stop a judge's order allowing transgender and non-binary people to choose sex markers on their passports. Right now, the court order lets people put down male, female, or X. That as opposed to being limited to what is listed on their birth certificate. The Justice Department argues that the government can't be required to use sex designations it considers to be inaccurate on official documents. The order followed a lawsuit challenging Trump's executive order requiring people to choose based on their birth certificate designations. Mississippi police saying an autopsy now showing that black student found hanging from a tree at Delta State University died by suicide. The body of the 21-year-old student was discovered on Monday. An autopsy was performed by the state's medical examiner. Police say they are still investigating the Delta University student's death and sharing information with the FBI. The family has retained the services of noted civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump. Authorities say they have found human remains they believe are those of 32-year-old Travis Decker. Decker is the former soldier wanted in connection with the death of his 3 daughters in Washington state. He has been wanted since June when a deputy found his truck and the bodies of those 3 daughters at a campground outside of Leavenworth. An autopsy determined they died from suffocation.
Scripps News has obtained never-before-seen video of the accused Charlie Kirk shooter during an interaction with police years before the shooting.
Who's the driver? You the driver? Yep. Can you tell me just really quick what happened?
That's Tyler Robinson, age 19, about 3 years before he's accused of shooting and killing conservative speaker Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University.
I was in one of those 2 lanes going this way. I think in the right rightmost lane coming this way.
In this video Scripps News obtained from police in Utah, he has just gotten into a fender bender, accidentally slamming his Audi into a Ford sedan that turned in front of him at an intersection in St. George, Utah. Neither driver received a citation.
He would have been there going left, and as I was coming through, he turned in, and I T-boned into the side.
In this video, he's cooperative and seems polite.
Just as I left the house, put oil in.
Of course.
Just topped it up.
Welcome to real life.
He tells the officer he's with his brother and that his mom is on the way to help him out.
She's gonna be a minute. She's got to shuttle over from where she's at to her car and then drive over.
Aside from this brief accident, Tyler Robinson's history is unremarkable when it comes to run-ins with police.
The defendant, Tyler James Robinson.
But Tuesday this week, he was clad in what appeared to be an anti-suicide smock as he learned he would be facing the possible death penalty. Court records reveal he threatened to kill himself before turning himself in, but a retired sheriff's deputy who was also a family friend worked with his parents to facilitate a calm surrender.
Mom, do you have any questions since you'll probably be taking care of this?
I will be taking care of this, and this is all new for me, but we'll figure it out.
All right.
A judge said this week that Tyler Robinson would be appointed an attorney after the judge found that Robinson was indigent, unable to afford one. His next court hearing is set for September 29th. Lori Jangliha, Scripps News Group.
That vaccine advisory panel today failed to recommend COVID vaccinations to anyone, leaving that decision up to you and your doctor. Before today, the vaccine was routinely provided to just about everyone, and in a surprise move, the panel deciding not to change the hepatitis B vaccine schedule. The current advisory panel is made up of Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and his appointees, including some who are vaccine skeptics. Dr. Raynard Washington is the health director in Mecklenburg County, North Carolina. That is Charlotte. He's also the chair for the Big Cities Health Coalition. Dr. Washington, you heard the words describing today's meeting, chaos and confusion. Are you clear on what we should be doing?
Well, I think it's difficult for us to be clear with the type of recommendations that were sent out today. We rely on our partners at the CDC and ACIP to send firm recommendations to our community. And today's recommendations I think, lack the clarity that will allow American citizens to have a clear understanding of what to do next. And so now I think the responsibility now shifts to us at local and state levels to ensure our residents have the most science-based, informed, clear communications about what to do this season.
Sounds like to me that you are going to make your advice based on your own information and not that of the CDC. Is that what I heard?
Well, I think, yeah, the state of North Carolina, fortunately this week, have issued a statewide standing order to ensure that residents who are at greatest risk for COVID-19, severe illness, or death are able to access COVID-19 vaccines this season without a prescription. And that happened ahead of the CDC ACIP recommendation, which, of course, now also isn't final until the acting CDC director signs off on it, which we don't know what that will look like either.
You know, I'm one of those people, by the way, who has had heart problems, and my best friend, who's a doctor, can't say yet whether I should get the COVID shot. Are we right smack dab in the middle of COVID season with confusion on this issue? And if you're telling people to get the shot, is this the vaccine that they absolutely positively need for this year's
strain? At our long-term care facilities, where some of our most medically fragile residents are. And so we know COVID is circulating. Our wastewater surveillance is showing uptick concentration of COVID in our wastewater. And so we're right in the middle of the season, or getting started, coming off of our summer increases, late summer increases, and now is the time for us to be acting, not to be having certain types of discussions that are creating more confusion.
Dr. Washington, there are Western states who have decided to take matters into their own hands. Is this helping or hurting the nation's health infrastructure?
Well, I think it's certainly hurting. You know, one of the reasons why we have the federal view and federal recommendations is so that we are creating standards across our country. Most of our geographic boundaries associated with states and cities and counties, those are artificial administrative boundaries. People live in communities, some of which cross those boundaries, or people are moving freely across states. And so having federal recommendations has been vital to our infrastructure in terms of public health recommendations and practice. And unfortunately, what we're seeing right now, as you mentioned earlier, is an extreme amount of chaos at the federal level that is requiring now us to create sub-infrastructure to ensure that we protect our health of our residents.
The CDC was once described as the gold standard of health. Is it still?
Well, I think today what we're seeing is very clear. There was testimony earlier this week about from the former CDC director about some of the loss of integrity and the processes that we rely on to ensure that we are executing public health practice based on data and science. And unfortunately, I do believe that because of the loss of some of the highly experienced, highly regarded scientists at the CDC, and the, I would say, infiltration of political appointees, as well as what's happened with the turnover in the ACIP community, as the chair himself acknowledged today. They are new at this, they're rookies, and I think that we are, again, having to face public health crises in real time today, and we don't really have the kind of time to learn on the job. If this were a sports team and you were a rookie, the consequence is losing a game. In this case, if you're not making these decisions based on science and informed in a way, it's costing people their lives and their health. And so the risk is great, and it's too great to take.
Final question before I let you go, which is that the last time there was a major pandemic, the COVID pandemic, we found out that the United States was not as prepared as it should be. Are you concerned about what might happen if we face another health threat similar to what we saw with COVID?
Absolutely. I think we're hearing very little conversation from our federal partners right now about how to ensure we are prepared for emerging health threats. I think we are hearing a lot of conversation debating settled science that's creating more confusion for our residents. And what's happening on the ground is we're starting to see more infectious diseases. And of course, again, we're not having the conversation about how to be prepared for the thing that we don't know is coming. We're talking about the things that we have been able to successfully mitigate and eradicate, becoming problems for us again because of the confusion that's been created.
Dr. Raynard Washington is the health director in Mecklenburg County, North Carolina. He's also the chair of the Big Cities Health Coalition. Dr. Washington, thanks for being with us today.
My pleasure.
I'm Heather Healy reporting in your neighborhood of Waco. And if you're like me, maybe packing some breakfast on the go or packing your lunch for the day, the trend that we're seeing all over the place is high protein, right? So we've got some peanut butter crackers, that's got some protein, a protein shake, even some protein yogurt. But really, is this diet trend all that it's cracked up to be? Well, I went to a child nutritionist to really break it all down for us. You see it in grocery stores and all over social media. High protein this and high protein that. But is all the hype on this valid? Clinical dietitian Lauren Williams details some of the dangers and benefits.
So really making sure that people are meeting their overall protein needs, so especially athletes, for example, meeting their protein needs that they're going to need for recovery and just supporting their performance, their athletic performance. But then in general, it also increases satiety, so it makes us feel more full and lengthens the duration of our satiety too. So for example, if you don't have protein with breakfast, you might feel hungrier a lot earlier than if you had prioritized having some protein with breakfast. So there's different benefits depending on your own lifestyle, but in general, those are the main ones that we're seeing. One of the main dangers is getting too much protein per day. So one of the scary things is that a lot of the patients that I'm seeing will come in saying that they need 2 grams of protein per pound, and that's actually not true. It should be a maximum of 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So if you take our body weight in pounds, divided by 2.2, you're going to get kilograms, and no more than 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight in general, unless directed by your medical team. So there are some people that may need more, but it will depend on your specific medical needs. And if you go over that, it can be hard on your kidneys, and we don't want that, of course.
Heather Healy, Scripps News Group.
We're striking a chord at the Musical Instrument Museum in Phoenix, a noteworthy experience that'll have you tuning into sounds from all over the globe.
Dramatic coastlines, views of the Pacific, rich natural beauty. Yes, this week on Photo Walks, we are headed back to California. We're joined now by our travel and tech contributor, Jefferson Graham. Tell us more about Monterey and Carmel and what makes them so special.
2 of the prettiest places in the world, and one of the quirkiest as well. That would be Carmel. Let's go look at the video, then let's talk about it. Those gingerbread houses, those giant trees, the massive waves, and the natural beauty. Sounds like Carmel by the Sea, right? Our latest stop on the California Highway 1 adventure, and what a stop it is, with so many great photo opportunities that I want to tell you all about on today's episode. They include this oh-so-cute downtown that's full of fairy tale cottages from another era, those cypress and pine trees, a historic mission that just celebrated its 250th anniversary, and the rugged, rocky, dramatic coastlines.
We have one little square mile here, but it's such a fairy tale little European village just plopped in along the coast of California, and all of our little cobblestone streets and the fairy tale cottages. We have 20 wineries, 50 restaurants, and over 80 galleries, art galleries. So,
and no stoplights and no addresses.
And no stoplights and no addresses. Everybody has to go pick up their mail at the post office. It keeps that little community feel.
Makes it very confusing for the FedEx and Amazon drivers, let me tell you.
Hey, Jeff, I get the feeling maybe since I botched the intro, I should say 3, 2, 1 and start over again. But really, they don't have street addresses?
Really, they don't have street addresses. And the folks in town, there have been a movement to get the addresses for as I said, for the FedEx and the Amazon, and just for the emergency crews and things like that. But the people in town will not make a change. They like it the way it is, and it'll probably stay that way for quite some time.
Hey, Jeff, if you're willing to get on a boat, what will you see from the sea, the ocean, as far as the coast of Monterey is concerned?
Well, if you're willing to get on a whale watching boat, you're going to get what is said to be the best whale watching in the state of California. More whales are in that area than in any other area on the California coast. And so that's one of the big draws. Plus, gosh, it's just such a rocky, dramatic coast that is it's eye-popping. I just was on this trip last week, and I drove from San Francisco to Los Angeles on up and down the coast, and it is a stunner.
This is on my wife's to-do list, her bucket list. What is the best time to visit this area?
I like the fall. I generally everywhere is best in the fall because the kids are back in school and the room rates are lower and there's just more room to move around. But the great thing about California is we have good weather most of the year. So pretty much any time you go, it's going to be pretty good. Summer is going to be the most crowded and the hottest.
Jefferson, I was really looking forward to seeing this one. Thanks for taking us on your journey, and I can't wait to tell you the truth where we're headed next. And a reminder, you can catch a new episode of Photo Walks every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Central Time.
Let's strike a chord. I'm Zach Perry with ABC 15, and we're at the Musical Instrument Museum in Phoenix. A noteworthy experience that'll have you tuning into sounds from all over the globe.
MIM is a huge museum. It actually surprises a lot of people. We have over 80,000 square feet of public display space. It's about a 200,000 square foot building where we have thousands of authentic musical instruments from every part of the world on display. Ancient instruments, thousands of years old. It includes celebrity-owned instruments, historic instruments that people have heard on recordings and have seen on videos and tours. And so it really is the whole range of important musical instruments spanning human history, and the collection keeps on growing.
From classical instruments to ones you have not seen before, you can learn all about music and its rich cultural history.
This is our octo bass. It's a 12-foot tall bass. It's basically a recreation of the originals that were made in the mid-19th century. Hundreds of guitars on display. Actually, our special exhibition right now is called Stradivari and the Golden Age of Violins and Guitars. In addition to a Stradivarius violin, you can see some real incredible legacies of European guitar making. Too many highlights to list, really, but whether it's guitars, drums, flutes, keyboard instruments, you're going to see a variety of all of those categories at MIM.
Also, try your hand at playing some instruments yourself in the Experience Gallery.
The one space in the museum where you can go with your whole family and actually try different instruments, from harps to a theremin to a giant gong.
And then the kids love the Experience Gallery. We'll see, a gallery, and we'll go back and play a few instruments and then see another thing, whatever their patience will allow.
Learning how music has always played an important part of the human experience. Zach Perry, Scripps News Group.
I'm Maria Morales in Gwinook, and I'm about to introduce you to a local real estate agent and her clients who are coming to a small screen near you. There's an old showbiz saying that everyone will get their 15 minutes of fame one day. For Baltimore area real estate agent Chantre Phillips and her clients Bernardo and Nia Adams, that day is Friday, when they'll appear on the popular cable TV show House Hunters.
It's an amazing feeling. Like I said, I feel super honored and blessed to be in this position. And you know, still getting used to the spotlight. I'm a little nervous to see the show when it does air on Friday.
Millions of viewers will be watching as Chantre leads the Adamses, a blended family with 5 children ranging from 2 to 20s, on their search for a new home in Charm City and the surrounding area.
To be on national TV was a journey. It was a journey that I would never thought that I would be going through, but again, it was exciting and it was an honor to be able to do it.
While they are sworn to secrecy on what happened behind the scenes and in front of the cameras, the show typically takes viewers along as the agent leads home buyers through 3 homes, like this one for sale that we visited with them.
So we won't give away what you guys picked, but this was something that we came across when we were searching with, you know, upgrades, renovations, you know, flooring, cabinets, and things like that.
Then expect the big reveal when the couple announces which home they bought. While the Adamses gave us no clues, Bernardo did say they are happily settled into their new home thanks to Chantre.
Chantre was able to help us locate the perfect area that we felt like, you know, this is it. We're ready to grow and just expand. Chantre has literally become a sister to my wife, a great family friend.
You can tune in Friday night to see which home they picked. Maria Morales, Scripps News Group, Baltimore.